This day, 457 years ago, Mary Queen of Scots was forced to abdicate in favor of her infant son James, who would become James VI of Scotland and James I of England. Earlier in 1567, Mary was visiting her son James in Stirling. On the way back to Edinburgh, she was abducted by James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell. She was then taken to Dunbar Castle. Now, there's some debate over whether or not Mary went willingly with Bothwell or whether she was taken against her will. But they later returned to Edinburgh together and were married. And this marriage proved to be very unpopular with Mary's subjects due to the fact that Bothwell had played a role in the death of her previous husband, Henry Stuart Lord Darnley. Elizabeth I herself wrote a letter expressing her shock and concern over this, saying, quote, "Madam, to be plain with you, our grief hath not been small, that in this marriage so slender consideration hath been had, that, as we perceive manifestly, no good friend have ye in the whole world can like thereof. And if we should otherwise write or say, we should abuse you. For how could a worse choice be made for your honour, that in such haste to marry such a subject who besides other notorious lacks public fame, has charged with the murder of your late husband?" Confederate lords then turned against Mary and Bothwell and gathered forces against them. Mary was then taken and imprisoned in Loch Leven Castle, and it was during her time here that she had miscarried twins. But she was barely given any time to recover, because on the 24th of July, Lord Patrick Lindsay confronted Mary, and she was forced to sign away her right to the throne. The statement, whether given by Mary or written on her behalf to make it seem like she had willingly given up the throne, said, quote, "Not only is our body, spirit, and senses so vexed, broken, and disquieted that no longer are we of the ability by any means to endure so great and intolerable pains and ordeals with which we are altogether wearied, and as great commotions and troubles by sundry causes in the meantime have ensued therein, to our great grief." Mary would eventually escape Loch Leven and flee to England in 1568, and it was on English soil that Elizabeth I would hold her prisoner, and she would then be executed for treason in 1587.